A brand is so much more than your logo or the words on a page or the colors that you use. And today we are talking about how we can use a tool called human design and combine it with branding to create a whole ecosphere of something that really resonates with you on a deep personal level. So that when you go out and you are selling your product with your personal branding on it that feels very aligned and true to you, you have so much confidence and you are just out there rocking it and finding all of the customers who cannot get enough of what you make. You don't want to miss my conversation with Karyn Savory of Sweet and Savory Designs coming up next. Welcome to Your Food Business Success. This podcast is for early stage entrepreneurs in the packaged food industry ready to finally turn that delicious idea into reality. I'm your host, Sari Kimball. I have guided hundreds of food brand founders to success as an industry expert and business coach, and it's gotta be fun. In this podcast, I share with you mindset tools to become a true entrepreneur and run your business like a boss. Interviews with industry experts to help you understand the business you are actually in, and food founder journeys so you can learn what worked and didn't work and not feel so alone in your own journey. Now let's jump in. Welcome back to the podcast. Really excited to have you here for this conversation. I have an amazing guest today. She was actually on episode number 11, way back. Really excited to welcome back Karyn Savory, who calls herself a brand alignment guide. She is an incredible graphic designer as well as a branding expert. And the intro that she gave me that I'll read really quick and then we'll welcome Karyn on is combining passion and purpose. Karyn founded Sweet and Savory Designs to help mindful foodpreneurs bring their tasty dream to life. Using her knowledge of the human experience, design, psychology, and power behind the human design system, she's devoted to collaborating with purpose-driven food and beverage businesses to create a better, healthier, food system as a brand alignment guide. So welcome, Karyn.
Thank you. Thank you. It's so fun to be back. Oh my
I
gosh, it has been a
know.
while.
Yeah. Well, it's so fun even just to think about our own trajectories, and we've stayed connected for these 4 years. You've been on the Colorado Food Works board, have been very instrumental both with helping us with design as well as being vice president of that organization and being a huge support to me. Yeah, I'm able to send clients your way, members to go work with you. We've done a couple projects together. So it's been a fun journey over these last 4 years.
Oh my gosh, it really has. I'm just so grateful for you and our relationship and how we've gotten to work together in so many different ways. So I
Yeah.
think it's funny. Like, are we friends? Are we working together? Are we doing this? It's just all of the above.
You've also been a client for a
I
little
guess.
bit. So yeah, all the above, wearing multiple hats. So it's really fun. But I'm really excited to welcome you back to talk about this concept of human design and interweaving it with your branding. So your first episode was really about just kind of more general branding and so maybe we can just start there. Like we probably need some working definitions of what we're talking about here. So maybe, yeah, can you explain first of all, I think branding, what that even means for people who are like, I think I know what that means. It sounds like I understand the concept. And then we'll get into human design and bringing the two together.
Sounds great. Branding. I feel like there's a lot of different definitions out there. A lot of people may think it's just the logo, but it's so much more than that. The brand is just, and focusing on intentional branding is one of the most important investments you can make in your business, I feel. Because really, the brand is the essence of your business. It is the way you're connecting with your ideal customers, your clients, your audience. And so, really, I see branding as a relationship. And so, It's a more than just the logo. It's like the living, breathing piece of your business that allows it to evolve and grow and change and be what it needs to be for you and your clients.
Yeah. It's really powerful. And I think um when people just show up, they join Food Business Success, they start to work with me and they're like, here's my label. And I'm like,
Right.
okay, great. Like, we got to get a minimum viable product out there. I'm all for that. But I think either at the beginning or after you've kind of proven the concept a little bit, maybe farmers markets or selling direct to consumer, it's really important to make this investment in who are we as a brand? How do we communicate? Because it's also like your tone of voice and your word
Everything.
choices that you use. It's your values, I think, really get wrapped up into your brand. And I've seen huge shifts when it's almost like when people invest to do the work of the branding and they get this amazing new packaging and the logo and the tone of voice and all of this defined, it's like they too, as people, have gone through some kind of transformation. And
Yes.
all of a sudden they show up and they're like so much more confident and they're excited and they're kind of embodying the same values. It's really interesting. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Oh, I love that you've experienced that too, because that's how I feel and why I love branding so much. It's so
Yeah.
powerful. It's really like the personality of the brand and all the things that make it come to life.
Right. And we could just take like one of the projects we did a long time ago was Barfly Salsa. And, he had this concept and these ideas and, kind of a rough label. But like when you put it all together and all of a sudden it was just like, boom, right? Now he's strutting into breweries and stores and he's just like, this is my product. This is my salsa. You got to try it. You got to have it. And he's feeling so confident. And it's something that he's really proud, and other people are excited to have it on their shelves and to have that conversation with their guests. And so it's really transformational. And I think people underestimate, I even think about like when I got my logo redone and how much more confident and capable I felt, right? It's just those little things. It's kind of like getting a new outfit or something.
Yes. I mean, our businesses are an expression of ourselves, right? So you want to feel it. You want to be proud of it. You want to share it with the world. You want to make sure that it feels like you, because then that's the way you're going to, be out there most authentically and it's going to flow and it's going to feel just really good.
Yeah.
So to
Yeah.
go through that, I love that you said it's transformational. I absolutely agree. And really, I feel like entrepreneurship is a spiritual journey in itself,
Right.
quite the personal development journey. So,
I always say like if you want to grow and change and evolve as a human, start a business or have a baby. Like and literally they're kind of similar. Like
yes.
obvious people often describe entrepreneurship like having a child. So there's lots of correlations there. So yeah, it is. It's a journey of transformation for you as a person as well. And I think I don't think you should try to separate those two things, which maybe gets into it's like maybe a great segue into human design, right? And then we'll kind of tie the two together. So I love you've kind of basically embraced a new passion and kind of figured out a way to put it together, your two passions. So tell us more. What the heck? Like, I'm sure a lot of people here have never heard of these two words together, human design. What is it? What does it mean?
All right. I guess I'll take a quick step back and kind of just say how it came into my life and why I feel like I've needed to incorporate this in the business. Um, so I feel like human design tends to come to people when they're feeling stuck or they just need an extra boost or asking, why is this so hard? There's got to be a better way. So, early on in the business, it just felt really hard. And so I was doing all the things, just, what typical entrepreneurial books would say, and gotta hustle and do this and get out there and be heard.
Yeah.
And I was
Make your
trying to do all those things,
offers, sell yourself, go to networking events.
all of that. And I was doing it as best as I could, but none of it felt good, especially like the selling myself and the marketing to a certain degree just felt icky. So yeah, got to the point where I was asking, why is this so hard? Why isn't this working? A friend had kind of brought up human design one time, like a few months earlier. And so finally I was like, wait, what was that? I feel like I need to go back and look into this because I've always been into personality tests. Um, always just understanding myself and others better. So human design, I feel like it's like the Myers-Briggs and Enneagram and all those personality tests, but on steroids. It's just so hyper focused on you as an individual. And so it's this really beautiful but powerful self-awareness tool that combines so many different pieces of like ancient wisdom and modern science. So like especially astrology, Chinese I Ching, which is all about energy, the Indian chakras, Kabbalah, and then even quantum mechanics and genetics. So it's really blending, like I said, that ancient wisdom and the modern science together to pull together a very unique energetic blueprint of ourselves and how we're wired to interact with the world and who we're supposed to be here and who we already were, but maybe have transitioned away from with just everything conditioning, programming, um, just being alive in this world today. So, human design is a really amazing tool that helps bring us back to ourselves and like our foundational operating system.
Yeah. It's interesting. I was just thinking, I think social media well, in some ways it allows us to be more individualistic. In many ways, it's creating standards that we all think that we have to be the same.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I was kind of thinking back, like I'm a child of the 80s, and I mean, I don't know that it's ever been like in super different. I mean, I remember it was very much 80s were very much about conformity and like everybody, meeting certain like especially like physical looking standards.
Right.
But I think there was a little more superficiality to it where we couldn't like really get into people's like personal lives or right like you had to do a lot more learning and research and we just didn't have the access that we do today. And so I think I don't want to say worse or better, but I think as entrepreneurs and you and I are both service providers, but I don't think it really matters. Every entrepreneur is on social media looking at, let's just, say food brands, right? They're looking at other brands, they're looking at how everybody else is showing up and thinking that they all have to be the exact same way. And that's just not true. And I'm hoping that we're going to come to a like maybe we've gone, one extreme and we'll come back to some other more neutral place where we can embrace that. I mean, we want to be different. We we want to stand out as ourselves. And I think what I'm hearing you say is that, maybe if you're more in line with your personal blueprint, that it's also, like we said before, it's going to be a reflection in the brand itself.
Mhm. Absolutely. And I love that you brought up comparison because that is such a killer of us trying to be ourselves, right?
Yes.
um, so yeah, by learning about your human design, you just get this really wonderful confirmation, affirmation, recognition of who you are and that it's okay. And it's actually more beneficial to you and everybody else because it's the best way you can show up.
Yeah. It's a
So
really
yeah,
powerful, it's really powerful. I'll have to say, be honest with the listeners that, as the older I get, as I'm nearing 50, I'm like definitely getting a little more woo and a little more like,
Mm.
okay, I'm leaning into some of this other stuff. I mean, I remember when we drove to Pueblo a couple years ago and you were telling me about human design and I was like,
Oh
not
yeah,
sure.
bringing out that inner skeptic. I was that
Right.
too.
Well, I'm always like curious, but I'm like, open and curious, but I'm like, I don't know. I don't know about that. And now I'm like all in on it. I'm like, yes. I mean, not to the point of like I want to learn it or teach it, but I love, I've had my human design reading. You and I've talked about it. It's like there's definitely something to it. And for me, having my readings done and my own blueprint explained, I think that there was just a lot of freedom in that and like you said, confirmation, validation, and like, oh yeah, it does feel easier. Like I can see the times when I've shown up that way, according to my own personal blueprint, where I've shown up that way and it's like, oh yeah, that was easy. And then when I try to show up the way I think everybody should, the things, the books, all the things say I should, quote unquote, then it's hard. And I'm like,
So
why is
hard.
it so hard? Ah.
Exactly. So that's why when it comes to you, it's usually you're in a place of this like conditioned self that you're just trying to do the things and everything feels difficult and there's just so much resistance and you feel like you have to force your way through. But yeah, once you really start to experiment with your unique design, things start to flow, things start to feel easier, things start to just feel more aligned. And oh gosh, it has changed my world and my business immensely. So
Yeah,
absolutely.
I love that. So I don't know if we want to get into, so you're coming into Fuel, you're going to be doing a VIP call with us because, in November, I don't want to give people one more thing to, let's go look at Amazon or, some other thing. They're in the middle of holidays, but I love kind of doing these maybe more introspective things where we get to maybe just learn a little bit about ourselves and take a little nugget away that you might be able to apply as you go into the new year and think about how you want to show up differently in 2025. So you're going to be coming into the group, to the membership, and people can get a personalized report from you, and you're going to be talking about it. But for the podcast here, what would make sense? Do you want to get into any like more definition of human design, or do you want to maybe just get into more how the two can branding and human design can play together?
I guess I'll just give a little bit more just because you gave an example about how when you've done things and showed up a certain way, um, that after you've learned a little bit more about your design, things felt easier. And then when you showed up this other way, it felt harder. So just kind of want to go into a couple pieces of the chart. First of all, there are 5 types of human design, energy types. And I know it sounds like very few when you consider like the 16 Myers-Briggs and 9 Enneagram types. Um, but then there's so much nuance underneath it all. So the 5 types are reflectors, manifestors, projectors, manifesting generators, and generators. And so you come to the call, I'll definitely go into more of what each of those are. I know, Sarah, you're a manifesting generator.
Yep.
I'm a projector. So fun stuff there. And then our strategy and authority are 2 of the most important pieces of our chart. So each energy type has a specific strategy. And the strategy is essentially how we interact and attract things in our lives. So, for example, manifesting generator, you, Sarah, your strategy is to respond. And so, thinking about what that means, really wanting to respond to external stimuli in your life. And that's going to be the best way to play this game. For me, mine is to wait for the invitation. And that was the biggest thing I could ever learn, both in business and just life. Because that was why things were so hard for me. I was trying to force, I was trying to put myself in places and initiate. And I meant to be there and wait for somebody to invite me in. And so once I started doing that, everything changed. And then our authority, this is our decision making tool, our the way we're meant to make decisions. So essentially our own intuition. Um, I forgot what yours is, but for example, mine is an emotional authority. So with an emotional wave, just being sure to not make decisions from highs or lows, but from a sort of neutral. So there are all these pieces and parts that really help us interact with the world. And then at the same time, if we're building a business, use these tools to help grow and thrive and see what kind of brand you want to create. Because it needs to feel like you.
Yeah. My inner authority is also emotional.
Okay,
And
great.
what I got from that, and I think this is actually a good example, like as an entrepreneur, is that um, I would get the message that like entrepreneurs need to be able to like make decisions really, really fast, right? And I mean, I'm guilty of preaching that. And I do believe that the faster we make decisions, the faster our business goes and we learn from it and we grow. But I think that there is kind of this myth of the entrepreneur that, you're like, bing, 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 bing. Like you
Right.
can all just make these like instinctual gut decisions immediately. And I felt like, man, I need to be like that. And I definitely made some decisions that I probably would do over again had I given myself more time to think about it. And I mean, I'll just totally own it that like coaches in my space, sometimes in life coaching and whatnot, can be really guilty of like putting pressure on people, right, to make those immediate decisions.
Right.
And so learning about human design and what is it called again?
Authority.
Authority. Yes. What my authority is that it gave me permission I don't have to make decisions like in that split second,
Mhm.
because there are authorities that are able to do that,
Yes, there
right?
are.
But like it's a small percentage.
I'm jealous of them, but that's
I
okay.
know. And so, but it gave me permission and it gave me some peace to be like, no, no, you don't need to like put this off forever, but give yourself 24, 48 hours to ride the wave of like excitement and then, fear or
Doubt.
whatever, right? And like not be making a decision from scarcity or from over optimism or right, like just kind of finding a little bit a place of neutrality to then make the decision and not out of urgency and not out of, you FOMO and you're going to miss out and all of that stuff. And I just set a rule after I learned that and also after some financial mistakes, decisions
Oh
that
yeah.
I learned from, but decisions that I made that I was like, okay, I am not committing to things that are over, X amount of dollars without taking 48 hours. And if somebody's like, hey, this offer goes away in 2 hours or whatever, I'm like, then it's a no. Just,
Yeah. Yeah. And then that's their loss. Whatever. It
yeah.
wasn't right for you.
But
Yeah,
it's given
absolutely.
me a lot more support for myself because now I'm not feeling like, oh, I have to be able to make split second decisions. And I've changed my language with my members and with, as I'm promoting programs of like, this isn't about my urgency, right? There is no urgency. I want you to make a decision that feels right for you at the time that it feels right. And I'm here, right, to go on that journey with you, but I'm not playing those tactics of urgent, must sign up, these things
Right.
going away. I mean, of course, we have to do some urgency when we're
We have
selling of like
deadlines.
bonuses or things like that. But as far as like, no, it's here. I'm here. You're
Yeah.
okay.
And that's awesome that you're so supportive in that now, even for your audience. Like that's huge. And I think exactly what you said, the it allows you, knowing this about ourselves, our emotional authority, it allows us to really healthily put in some boundaries around our business and, communicate and set expectations appropriately so that we don't feel pressured, that we don't feel rushed, that we don't feel like we have to make a decision without really truly feeling into it. So,
Yeah. How have you seen people embrace that, or maybe for yourself, that when they learn, maybe it's not the emotional authority, but it's something else, when they learn a piece of this, that how have you seen somebody change how they show up in their business or
ooh,
put those
okay.
boundaries on it?
Such a good question. So I guess because I'm jealous at times of sacral sacral authorities. So those are the people that can make that decision immediately. Um, that really they have this kind of explain it as that gut feeling, yes or no. So with them, if something's a yes, they're gonna feel expansive and kind of like this, aha, yeah. Like a mm-hmm. And if it's a no, they're immediately going to feel like this sense of restriction, constriction, like just like, ugh, like, uh-uh. So the
Yeah.
feeling of the sacral um, energy there. And so what I've seen some people do once they figure this out, oh my gosh, so much more powerful because they also now know that the best way to get that reaction that they need, that intuitive hit, is with somebody asking them yes or no questions. So if they can set it up to be asked those questions rather than open ended, then they're really going to make these instinctual, like best decisions for themselves and their business. And so I've just seen it take them to a whole different level.
Yeah.
It's really
I think because I would imagine, I mean, for one, I like to think, yeah, I'm like that. I can totally do that. And I do get a gut reaction, yes or no, but I've learned that I should sit with it just
right. That's
24,
that higher
48
level.
hours. Yeah. Because there's a lot of factors that could be influencing that. And oftentimes I might go with my initial response, but sometimes I don't. And so it's just good to have that permission. But I would imagine, maybe somebody with sacral authority who can make those split instant decisions, if they're really tuned into their body, maybe also gets feedback of like, oh, you shouldn't trust your gut, or you could be wrong, or no, that's not the way we do it. So you can't, even if everything in them is screaming yes, and somebody
Mhm.
else is like, well, that's not the way we do it. And so, like I said, I think that's where human design comes in, where it gives you permission and more confidence to say, no, that that decision I'm making because I'm this way is actually the right decision, and I'm gonna trust myself and stand by it. And you don't need to test this with like some giant, huge thing. Go test it with some small things.
Yeah.
Right? You don't need to be like, should I buy this house or not? It could be just like, should I get Mexican or Vietnamese food, right? Like you can
Yeah.
just test it with small things at first, and you start building up more self-trust.
Yes. Yeah. More clarity. I love confidence and trust in yourself. These are the things that you, this permission to be yourself helps everything come together and you can start getting rid of that feeling like you need to compare yourself with others and
Yeah.
really just settling into you and seeing where that goes. Really human design in itself, once you start going in, it's an experiment. It's a lifelong experiment. Like we are always going to be in, different environments and around different people that are constantly going to challenge us. But once we know who we are in any one of those given situations, it's going to be that much more powerful and easier for you to move forward. Um, so Yeah,
Yeah,
confident.
really trusting yourself. I think that's just the biggest thing if I could wave my magic wand and give every entrepreneur the ability to trust themselves, trust their decisions, trust that they are supposed to be different. Like, not everybody wants the same thing. So stop trying to be
Yeah.
cookie cutter of everybody else. So let's tie that back into, because that kind of segues a little bit into like, you don't want to be like everybody else. Your branding should stand apart, right? It should be about reaching your personal customers, your personal mission, your fulfilling your personal values. But how do you see the two? How do you know? Because I love that you took on this unique aspect and built it into your business, that you're not just a graphic designer, you do this whole layering on with the two things.
Yeah. So bringing human design into kind of the brand strategy in my branding process is has been really interesting. Um, like I said, I've always been into personality tests and things like that. I just love understanding people. But when working with food founders, I just love that now I can understand them on an even deeper level and really get in there and make sure that they understand who they are, they're connecting with who they are, and this business that they're bringing to life is an expression of that, expression of them. Um, and so with this and how I've kind of added it in, we'll do kind of an initial reading just so they understand kind of the terminology and what I'm talking about and make sure that they get the basic understanding of the human design system. And then there are just so many details we can dive into to help bring out kind of little themes and stuff that we should make sure to address in the branding and the visuals. Um, so for instance, like it, I don't have a chart in front of us, but there's something that we would call in our human design chart our conscious sun. And this really is our big energy, our life theme, our personality. And so this is a huge piece of your brand, and everybody has their own unique flair that comes with that piece of your chart. And so we really dive into that. We can work on a few other pieces of the chart, go into like your communication style, your core values. So all of those traditional things that you would do when working with a brand specialist, making sure you've got your mission and your vision and things like that. But we're just getting it from somewhere else. Like they're not necessarily defining it. I'm finding it in your chart and discussing it with you and making sure that you resonate and that it is truly coming from deep down. Like it's not somebody else's why, it is your why. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's just brought so much more depth and essence to this branding process.
Okay, I can definitely see that. What came to mind was, as you were talking about that, is I think so many people start their businesses from a deep place of purpose, but
Mhm.
it's not super clear. I think, and this actually ties into my own human design chart too, is like I wandered around in my 20s and 30s and even a good portion of my 40s going, what's my purpose? What's my why? Why am I here? Nothing's working out. Everything's hard, all the things. And I think that, yes, you make something delicious and you're like, I think I could do this. I want to make it into a business, and you have this spark, but there's like something deeper underneath that, right? There's a why and a purpose of why do you want to do this? Whether it's just like, I want to, maybe you want to heal people, maybe you want to just have people feel more nourished or create connection or create new ways of working and being, just connecting, being in life um and it could also be financial reasons as well. Nothing wrong with that, but um I think most of us don't have a ton of like crystal clarity on what that is. Every now and again, there are people, right? It's like the the person who like knew they were going to be a brain surgeon from like the time they were 5, right? And then we can all
Right.
compare ourselves like, why have I not known my life's purpose since I was 5?
Gonna be
Most
a
people
vet
don't.
or work at SeaWorld. I was going to be a park ranger. I don't know. I want to do
I
something
was
with
going to be a
animals.
fashion designer. So. But what came to me as you were talking is like it's in there, but we don't always know the language for it. And it's like until you hear it, then you're like, oh, that's it, right? That resonates with you. And so this is just a tool, and I think a very, I think a very well thought out, well developed tool that, even though there's only 5 types, there's so much, individual nuance because it's based on where you were born, the time you were born, right? So place and date and all of that. And so it's very individualized, and it's kind of like, to take a food analogy, right? It's like it's hard to read the label from the inside of the bottle. And this helps to give you some words and some labels to test and be like, does that feel true? And what I've seen is when people do human design, they're like, oh my gosh, you know me better than
Yeah.
I know
How'd you know
myself.
that?
Yeah.
Says
And
it
my
right
human
here.
design literally is like that conscious sun that you're talking about is literally to help people reinvent themselves, to take people
Yes.
through transition. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's literally what I do. And I have a whole second podcast called Reinvent, right? And I call myself a reinvention coach because that's what I love to do. And so let's bring that into your branding and your voice and your tone. And it just gives you more language to pull from that. Yeah. So I think when you combine the human design with your branding, you do get something that feels so true for you.
Yes. Yeah. And to find it and feel it rather than just think it, you know,
Hmm.
that's just so much more effective. I mean, and attractive, like magnetic for people. So that's how you're really gonna, by having your brand be this essence of you, it's only that much more magnetic for your ideal customers.
Yeah.
And because really, you're gonna attract like you don't want to necessarily try and attract somebody totally different than who you are. You're going to find the people that are meant to be your community. And this is a really fabulous way to do that. And purpose is my favorite piece currently, at least, of going into human design charts with people. So that's definitely what we'll be diving into a little bit more on the fuel call.
Amazing. Yeah. Well, I hope this gives people a kind of a taste and maybe a curiosity. What are some resources, or if people are like, human design, I don't know, I'm curious. What do obviously they can come, we'll include your information if they're interested. And I know you just do some readings as well, where you'll go through their chart individually, but then you can also build out their brand. But are there some other, like, tell us all the things. What should we do if we're curious?
Well, if you're interested, first step is pulling your chart, and there's a bunch of places online that you can pull it for free. I love Jenna Zoe, her human design app. That's a great one. You can find it a bunch of other places as well. Um, and then from there, if once you find out what your type is, it's really fun to go find some podcasts that are either just human design in general or focused on your type. And you're just really going to start to hear and feel like you're not alone and that you're that much more affirmed in who you are. And
Yeah.
so that's where I would suggest to start. And there's a bunch of books out there now. Gosh, it's human design is coming forth and it's
Yeah.
coming. So I feel really grateful to be part of this movement. I don't know, just more, I guess, this moving inwards, right? And making sure that that is satisfied first.
Yeah.
Um, so I
There's
think it's
alignment there. Yeah, absolutely. Don't just throw up some colors and a logo and be like, I'm done. That's my brand, right? Like do this
yeah,
more internal work because it's so true. When you are representing your brand as you and authentically and aligned, then it's like a laser and you're just like zooming in. The people who are attracted to that are going to come to you. And those are the people you want, right? And we got to get
Moth
rid
to a
of this
flame.
like everybody needs to love my granola. Everybody needs to love my coffee. No, you're not for everybody. As one of our favorite people talks about like warm tea, cold tea, hot tea, right? Like nobody likes warm tea. Either be hot tea or be cold tea, but like warm tea is not that great. And maybe for some people, maybe there's a couple people who love warm tea, but like be you, be authentic, be willing to be a little messy and but be you, and then you will attract the right people to you.
Yes. Oh my gosh, yes. It's so good.
Yeah, so good. Oh, I love this conversation. Thank you, Karyn. How can people find you? And like I said, I know you do. Feel free to tell people because you have a little package too, right? Where they can get some readings.
Yeah. So with Sweet and Savory Designs, that's my branding business. So you can find me online at sweetsavorydesigns.com. Um, and then I've kind of got this separate little business over here for those that are maybe just interested in human design and not necessarily food founders, but that is called Feed Your Intuition. So feedyourintuition.com, and you can schedule a human design reading with me. I also wanted to offer your listeners a couple things. So if you're just
I'm
interested,
inviting you to do so.
yay. Okay, I'm so glad. Thank you for the invitation. um, would love to offer 50 off a human design reading. And so that's with Feed Your Intuition, or really you can contact me through the other business as well. And then for anybody who already has their business and is really intrigued about how human design can kind of reshape or reinvigorate your brand, offering $100 off a brand alignment review. And so that way we'll pull your chart, we'll kind of go into what you feel you want your business to be, and then I will kind of go into those details and see how are you doing. Like, are your colors representative of this feeling that you really should be trying to put out there, or does it need some tweaks? So
Yeah,
those are a couple things I'd love to offer.
I love that. Amazing. Well, I'm assuming people just need to let you know where they heard it from, and we'll put the links in the show notes and where to find you. But yeah, imagine like what I want people to walk away, like look at your brand. If you already have one, if you already have the logo, packaging, all that, like look at it and say, you know, how do I feel about this in my body? Do I get excited? Do I love it? Does it feel aligned? Or, I mean, it's okay. And maybe you've just grown out of it too, right? Like it's okay to revisit. It's okay to question it, just because you question it doesn't mean you have to even change anything, but maybe doing the reading or understanding it's aligned, like you might just make a few tweaks to some of your language or your tone or other things too.
Yep.
Yeah,
All of that. Yes.
amazing. Well, thank you, Karyn, for spending some time with us today. It was so fun to reconnect. I mean, I see you in person a lot, but connect over
You
here
too.
on the podcast after 4 years, which is amazing.
Well, thank you so much for having me. This has been such a fun conversation. So I look forward to seeing where it goes.
Well, we'll see you in Fuel very soon. That was amazing. I'm so grateful for Karyn for coming on and sharing this amazing wisdom and her passion for it. And again, if you're curious about human design, I cannot speak highly enough about getting a human design reading. It's a small investment that is incredibly impactful, that'll set you on a journey of getting more aligned, feeling more authentic, and finding more fulfillment in the work you are doing in your business. I highly, highly recommend it. Go check out the links in the show notes. And until next time, have an amazing week. The smartest thing you can do as an entrepreneur is to invest in a who to help you with the how, to speed up your journey and help you skip the line. When you are ready for more support and accountability to finally get this thing done, you can work with me in 2 ways. Get me all to yourself with one-on-one business coaching, or join Food Business Success, which includes membership inside Fuel, our community of food business founders that includes monthly live group coaching calls and so much more. It's one of my favorite places to hang out, and I would love to see you there. Go to foodbizsuccess.com to start your journey towards your own food business success.